I'm John Byrne with Poets of Quonset. I'm here with John Lee, who is an associate admissions director at UCLA Anderson School of Management. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been to your school many times. Every trip I go there, I really enjoy, and it's not merely because of the weather. In fact, I'd say the number one reason I really like your school is because of the students and the culture at the Anderson School. So talk a little bit about the culture. What does it feel like? And I use the word feel purposely. So tell us.
Yeah, one of the greatest things about Anderson is the culture. So, and the students within that culture. It just feels like a really nice, friendly, social environment. It's a safe space, I think, for students. I think our students feel, like they generally care for one another, and it really shows because, some of the things that are done on campus really is run by students for students. For example, our clubs, they are the ones that are putting on the professional, professional industry panels at,
right.
For our students. They are the ones getting together the treks, to go out to visit certain companies, and they are the ones that put on conferences, during the year for our students. So, for example, our Retail Business Association would be putting on the Evolve conference for our students. The Women's Business Connection puts together Velocity Conference, and all of this really is student-run and student-driven with, minor administrative support, but for the most part, it's students with a dream and wanting
That's
to
right.
do something, and
then the school helps them do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stories that I really have heard over the years that I kind of like is a student will walk out of an interview for a very competitive job, and then we'll talk to all the other students who are in line to go into that interview room next. In other words, they're not hiding information. They are sharing it with their colleagues in the spirit that, hey, even if I don't get a job, I want to help my colleague get a job.
Yes, and and I was shocked when I heard that too, because that was one of when I was also interviewing for a job at Anderson. I was like, tell me something about that I would probably never hear from any other school, and they mentioned that, and I was shocked, and that again just goes to show how collaborative the student culture is, because in the end of the day, yes, we're all gunning for the same internship, and you want that same job, but you also want to build up your fellow Anderson classmates, because I think for our students, they know that even though you are going to get this job and you got this internship over me, I'm still going to be okay because I'm going to get an internship too. So, there's no reason to have any kind of jealousy, over exactly.
True. And I'm going to put some context around this that you wouldn't put, but I'm just going to say it, okay? Typically, schools that are in urban areas tend to be slightly less collaborative and more competitive. Now, why is that the case? Because more often than not, the students are, after class, they run off into the city and they have different apartments and they're not together. UCLA is one of the very few schools where that's not the case because the students are so incredibly collaborative. And I think it has to do with admissions to a great degree. So I don't know what kinds of things that you're looking for in the applicant to make sure that when they come to campus, they're that way, but whatever you're doing, it's working.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing is location.
Yeah.
Okay, LA is one of the great American cities, but more than that, it's a city of media, it's a city of entertainment, it's a city of tech. You have your own version of Silicon Valley, and you're not far from Silicon Valley. So let's talk about how that informs the experience and is a real plus for an MBA student.
Yeah, so I think in a couple ways, right? So our location and our proximity to these different industries makes it so not only is it easy for you to be assessing the locations in general when you want to do site visits, or also getting the recruiters are also alum in that area to come back onto campus for, say, industry nights or a dean's lecture series and things like that. So that's one way that the location makes it really desirable for our students. I think another reason why it's desirable is also because I think it's fairly new, but not a lot of students do it. I want to say I talked to career services and about 40% do, which is a lot actually. actually, when you think about
Yeah,
it.
it is.
Is that you have this opportunity now to do academic internships, which is an internship that's on top of what you're doing in the summertime. So, that's an extra layer of experience that you will get that not many students will get if you weren't in such a big urban city that was located, in an area that has entertainment, that has tech, that has, big pharma, right? So I think that's...
And finance.
And those are, and that really does give our students a leg up because instead of just having one summer internship, now you have multiple internships. That makes it so you're maybe even more competitive.
And John, you used the term academic internship, but in fact, it's only called that because it occurs during the academic term.
Correct.
But it's not academic, it's with a company.
Yes, it's still with a company. It's within the academic term. So theoretically speaking, if you really wanted to, you can do we go by the quarter system.
Right.
So you can have an academic internship the winter quarter, the spring quarter, and then your summer internship, and then just have it circle back the following year. So you do have opportunities to really just get exposed to a lot of different types of work experiences out there, and being in Los Angeles where I think there's over 300,000 startups and small and medium businesses, you really can kind of touch everything during your time here.
Right. The other way you take advantage of your location, which I think is really impressive, is you have a number of executives who come in and either they co-teach with a professor a course, or they actually teach on their own. Now I know in the past you've had a course where literally Amazon executives come in and teach. Right?
Yeah.
And you have the CEO of one of the big entertainment companies come in and teach. And that's something that, a lot of schools don't have. So you're really taking advantage and leveraging your location and the industries around you and bringing it into the classroom in a way that very few schools do. So third thing, which is worth mentioning, is something called the Parker Career Center.
Yes.
Let's talk about this because, obviously every school has a career management or career development function. Those departments are very important in making sure that students find the right opportunity for themselves. What makes Parker special, though?
Yeah, I just think, Parker, from my understanding, has just been the #1 career services center, in a couple publications, in terms of student satisfaction. And it really shows because they are very involved and heavily involved with the recruitment of every single student. So, when you come in as an Anderson first-year MBA student, you are participating in almost a year-long Parker Career Series where they basically coach you in everything from interviewing, presentation skills, resume skills. They also put together, your treks out there to different industry. They're really good on networking as well with the different companies out there for on-campus recruitment, right? So, and that's one of the other big advantages of being in such a major city is that the companies are already there. So, to get them to come out here, to constantly be on campus, to constantly be visible to students is really not that hard for them. And then also I want to say we have this thing called ACT teams, which is the Anderson Career Teams, and that's also that's in collaboration with Parker, but also with our second-year students, which again goes back to that collaboration point in which, a second-year student mentors a group of 5 or 6 first-year students on a certain industry, right? So if you want to go into consulting, this second-year student is basically telling you the tricks of the trade and the life hacks, on how to get that consulting internship.
Because those interviews are pretty complicated and tricky.
Yes, and they've already gone through that process. So they are now kind of ushering you through that same process to ensure that you put your best foot forward.
Which relates back to the collaborative culture because you have students, even when they're in the program, wanting to give back to the younger students who just came in.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
You obviously sit and read a lot of applications. I imagine you interview a fair number of students as well, applicants. What does it take? What advice do you have to give someone who's really interested in coming to Anderson and having that MBA experience?
Okay, yeah, well, the funny thing about interviews is, again, going back to second-year students and collaboration, interviews are actually done by second-year students.
Yeah.
Rarely are they done by someone like me and AdCom. I have done it in the past. If it's spring break, it just
Exactly.
it happens, right? But I want to say, we really want to see if you fit into our culture, because we know if you hit our benchmarks, right? If you go on our website and you see that the range is 680 through 750, and you see that the GPA is like this and that, you're already going to be a good candidate and a viable candidate from an academic standpoint. But now we want to see if you're going to fit, and not everyone's going to fit and want to be in that culture. So,
Sure.
The way we assess it is that second-year student. They're meeting you during the interview process. They're asking you questions about, who you are and how do you plan on contributing to the class when you're here, and also just assessing do I want you on my learning team? Is this someone that I would like to spend 2 years of my time with, to kind of get me through the process, through the good times and the bad times? Are you going to help me with that? And I think from an AdCom standpoint, though, from before even we do the interviewing portion, we want to see that the students fit our culture, and they can show that in a variety of ways, right? They can do it during the essay portion, where they address, why MBA, why Anderson, and why now, some really important critical questions. They can also show it during their extracurriculars, because, in order to be in a highly collaborative environment, you do have to show some, leadership and having done some stuff, whether it was during your undergrad or even within your own community or within your own company.
Right.
And then also your recommendations, right? Your recommenders are going to write about how you are with teams, how do you work with teams. So those are some of the ways that I would say would show how you would fit into our culture, given that the metrics are already there.
Sounds good. You can't beat LA, can you?
No, and I'm originally a New Yorker, so
Oh, you are?
yeah.
So you're a transplant.
I am.
And you're totally converted?
I am. It's been
How long have you been there?
10 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah.
You know when you've chosen.
Exactly, and I grew up just right down the street. So
There you go.
yeah.
Well, John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
You too.
That's John Lee, Associate Director of MBA Admissions at UCLA's Anderson School of Management. They also have a great facility, and you're building a brand new building, which is going to be really incredible.
I'm excited. December 2019.
I've been through there already, and I didn't go in and wear a hard hat yet, but I will soon before it opens up.
I hope you get a good chance to see it.
All right, this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.